Hey everyone, welcome to Answers for a Friend. This is a mini series within our current sermon series called Asking for a Friend. So, the reason we are doing this series is because all the different topics, all the different sermons within this series can either cause tension or they can be controversial or both.
Both.
So we want to give this opportunity to you and for us because we're learning, we're growing together. But we want to give you the opportunity to send us questions. If you have any questions during the sermons that don't get answered, we want to help bring a Christian worldview from our personal experiences, from our studies, to help us all learn and grow together. So, with that, welcome to Answers for a Friend. So, right off the bat, Jeff, today's topic is relationships. You preached on
Yeah,
relationships
I
on
spoke on
Sunday.
relationships this past week.
So,
Relationships are really important.
Yeah.
Because relationships do a couple things. One of the things that it does for us as believers is it actually makes us more like Christ.
mhm.
Because how we deal with people and the relationship and try to keep it healthy, and it's really an opportunity to be like Christ and to be Christ-like
Yeah.
in our approach to each other, in how we relate to other people. And the goal is that when people leave our presence, they feel better about themselves, right? So it's important. Relationships are important.
Yeah. So, I guess the question right off the bat would be, how does the topic of relationships cause tension and controversy? And I'll just answer that because people are the best and the
That's right.
worst of God's creation. When you have a relationship with someone, there can be tension. There's disagreements. There can be yelling at times. We live in a fallen world where people love to fight. People love to argue. There are wars every single day, rumors of wars every single day. So why does this topic cause tension and controversy? Because we're flawed. And so we need to learn how to have conflict better in order to grow, in order to heal, in order to have mercy and compassion for one another. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I want to ask this question. We got this question. What are some tips to handle conflict?
What are some tips to handle conflict? Okay, so a conflict, it's fascinating because for most of us, we try to avoid it. And one of the things that I want to encourage you to think about is to look at conflict as an opportunity. And to not be afraid of it, even whether it's for a sibling or someone coworker, or even a spouse. Because in the end, when conflict is handled correctly in a healthy way, it actually strengthens that relationship. Because you're breaking down some barriers that prevent you from communicating correctly, and the conflict gives you opportunities to just breed health and to strengthen that relationship. That being said, there's a couple things that you really do want to avoid in conflict. And the first one is criticism. Now, being critical is not a bad thing, but when we do it in a healthy way, criticism, what it's doing is it's shifting blame, and it's really saying, it's kind of attacking the person. And two words that you really want to avoid when you're dealing with conflict and when you start stepping into the criticism zone is always and never. Okay.
Okay.
So it'd be like, you always do this, or you never show up on time.
Hmm.
These are just to avoid those words at all costs. You can say, hey, can we discuss, why we're always late? Oh, there it is. So, or we can discuss, just avoid those words altogether in your conversation. You
Taking
always and never.
notes.
That's right.
Taking notes for my marriage.
Yeah,
There we go.
it's really important to just avoid those things.
Okay.
And the goal is to build each other up and learn in the process. Secondly, that I think men are really good at is being defensive.
Yeah.
And really being defensive is driven by our own insecurities, and we don't want to appear wrong,
Hmm.
right? So being defensive, and what we say when we're being defensive is, well, you did it the other day, or what about everything that's left out on the counter now,
Hmm.
or your clothes are left on the floor, so what we're doing is just protecting ourselves because we don't want to appear bad. So the goal, the way to overcome being defensive is just own it.
Yeah.
Okay, baby, I'm sorry. Or, yeah, you know what, I screwed up on this project at work. I'll try to do better next time. That kind of stuff. So just own your mistakes and just try to avoid those phrases of blaming them for
Yeah.
also including them in your fault. The third one is contempt. This one can be pretty nasty because really what it is about is being mean to each other. And what you're doing is you adopt an "I don't care" attitude. You do what you want to do, that's fine. And it's really it's deliberately being mean. That's where the eye rolls come along. You're just like, oh man, not again. And it's really what contempt says is you're not worth it.
Hmm.
It's devaluing that person.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so you really want to avoid that in conflict. And a way to avoid conflict is say, that's a really good question. I never saw myself that way. How can I do better? Again, it goes along with being defensive. We own it. Own the error. Own our discretion. How can we do better? And it really, when those are handled well, it really does deepen that relationship. So it's important.
Wow. That's really good. Good stuff.
Yep. All right. So another question that I have for you, David, is how do we protect ourselves in relationships?
And I think that is such an important question that I think everyone wants the answer for. First, I want to say it's impossible to get through life without being hurt. But there are
Mhm.
ways for us to protect ourselves. So first, I want to address a question. I'm going to answer the question with a question. So, what is the purpose of a relationship?
Mm.
To help us grow,
Right.
to encourage one another, support one another, love each other. All in all, because we're not meant to do
Life alone.
life alone.
Right.
So relationships are part of life. So how do we protect that? So I want to address this with a topic that I focused so much in my personal life over the last couple of years, and I think we protect ourselves in relationships through boundaries. Boundaries are so important. So, what is a boundary? So you, if you approach it correctly, there can be good boundaries and bad boundaries. So we want to use
Good
good
boundaries.
good
Right.
boundaries. Boundaries. First, I want to encourage you guys to read this book, Boundaries, by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. They talk about boundaries. What is bad boundaries? What is good boundaries? How do you have boundaries with your kids, your husband, your wife, your coworkers? They teach it, and they all do it within a Christian worldview, which I think is incredible. So I want to encourage that. So how do we have boundaries in our lives? Well, boundaries are for ourselves, but it's also to protect other people. And your entire life is focused around an emotional intelligence. So your life includes emotional health, relational health, physical health, and spiritual health. And all of those feed off each other. And if one is wounded,
Mhm.
if one is hurt, if one is unhealthy, it's going to start affecting the other
Oh yeah,
areas.
hurt people hurt people.
Exactly.
So boundaries are
So
important.
you need to have boundaries to protect you mentally. You need to have boundaries to protect you relationally, physically, and spiritually. And as you grow in those different areas, as you heal in those different areas, you will see the fruit come across.
Yeah.
So you're going to heal, you're going to come across better relationally, because guess what? I'm when I'm good mentally, I'm a lot better relationally. And when I am good emotionally, it helps me in my spiritual life.
Yeah.
Also,
Yes.
when I'm not well emotionally, it
Okay.
affects us. So your emotional intelligence is vital, and we protect our relationships by creating boundaries for ourselves so that we are healthy.
But aren't boundaries sometimes painful? Do they hurt?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Boundaries are absolutely hurtful, especially if they're done the wrong way. So if you're
Okay.
just cutting people off out to cut them out because you don't like them, that's a horrible
Oh yeah.
boundary. However, think of wounds from a doctor.
Oh,
When
so good.
done correctly, boundaries can help you heal. They can help you grow. They can help you learn. They can help you respect not only yourself, but other people. And that's vital.
I've never looked at the boundary, whether they're good or bad, and how they actually hurt if done wrong. So
Mhm.
that was really good.
So another question that we got is, at what point should counseling be considered?
Wow, that's really good. And one of the interesting thing about that is usually the person that needs it realizes it last, because somebody who's hurt and they're struggling, whether they're depressed, anxious, or they're dealing with a loss.
Mhm.
In most cases, their mode is survival, and usually they don't realize, oh, I'm at this point where I need help. Usually, it's a spouse, a sibling, or it could be one of your kids, somebody at work. Hey, you're different. You really are. Is something going on? Are you making good choices? Type things, and type responses that say, "Hey, something's going on. We can tell."
Mhm.
And that's a great cue to go, okay. And you talked about emotional intelligence earlier. That's a great response to go, okay. What is going on? And typically, guys, women are. I think they have a hard time asking for help too. But guys, most of the time,
Oh,
I
definitely.
think we have the worst. And so accepting that as, all right, what is going on, and then reaching out for help. It can be a coworker, somebody, a trusted friend, a pastor, a counselor. The encouragement is to drop the pride and say, okay, yeah, I really do need some help here.
So Jesus plus a therapist is okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's a stigma that sometimes reaching out to a counselor, or a coach, or when you start talking therapists, there's a stigma that society seems to attach to that. I think it's becoming better now, but and even in the church, you just got to pray more. You just got to go to church more. You got to worship more. Read the Bible more.
Yeah.
So those are good things. But the problem is, we read the Bible through subjective eyes.
Yep.
We go to church through subjective experiences, and we worship subjectively as well. So it's important to get an outside view of what's going on inside of you.
Mhm.
And a therapist, a friend, a pastor, they can be more objective than you can,
Mhm.
in one of these experiences. So it's important when you start seeing those cues to go, okay, I really do need to
Yeah.
ask somebody for some help
Yeah.
in working through this. It's really important. Your health is important. Your family's health is important as well in that process of
Yeah.
healing.
And I know that you've said this from the stage. So, but I've gone through counseling. I know Jeff has
Mhm.
gone through counseling, and what I love about my counseling experience is my counselor helped deconstruct the things that I viewed not only from a biblical standpoint that weren't correct. He helped me deconstruct, hey, God's not how you're picturing him.
Mhm.
He helped me
That's so good.
deconstruct my selfish ways. So he helped me rediscover who I am, rediscover who God is from a biblical standpoint, but also helped me really learn how to open up again and not just shut people
Yeah.
off. Because when you're not okay emotionally and mentally, even spiritually, you tend to isolate.
Yeah.
And again, we're not meant to do life alone.
Right.
So, real quick, I want to recommend when it comes to relationships, you have to be willing to work on yourself. That's key, like Q. If you want healthy relationships, make sure that you're healthy. So I'm all for sharing books and making sure people have resources. So I want to recommend Growing Kingdom Character. It's by Tom Eakley, and it's absolutely incredible. It's one of the
It looks
best.
really good.
It's one of the best books. It's actually more of a devotional. I have this thing highlighted. I have notes everywhere. It talks literally about selfish ambition. Where's your heart? Where's your mindset? Helps you grow, and as you grow as yourself, you can start uh, having better relationships. Now, with that, before Jeff closes us out, as we continue in the series, if you have questions, we want to answer them. We're going to try to answer
Try to
them.
answer them. Yeah.
There may be some questions. We may either have too many questions, or some questions may be more of a sermon topic. We are going to reach out. But how do you submit questions? On Sunday mornings, by our doors, so the worship center doors and out at the connect wall, you will find this slip. It says answers for a friend, and on the back it has directions. You can write your question. If you want, you can fill out your email address as well, so we can email you directly. When you fill these out, just put them in the giving boxes at the walls, and we will get them, we'll study them, and we'll answer them. You can also submit questions digitally.
Mhm.
You just open up the Church Center app. If you don't have the Church Center app, where have you been? This is a great resource for our church so that we can connect, grow. We have all the sermon notes there. But under the Church Center app, you will find the form, which on Sundays, if you scan this, you'll easily find it as well, where you can say the topic that you want to ask a question about, so we know specifically what you want answers for, and then you're able to submit your question online as well. All questions, as you noticed today, are anonymous. So we're not going to be saying names. We just want to answer questions. But if we don't get to your question, we want to be able to reach out to you if needed. So if you want to be completely anonymous, then you can fill this out. Don't put your email address, don't put your name, or you can go online and just ask away.
Hey, thanks guys for joining us. You can follow us on social media. You can follow us on Facebook. You can go to Instagram, our website. There's several different ways that you guys can interact with us. And you can go to our media page and you can check out our series, Asking for a Friend. And then you can also, there's ways there as well that you can reach out and ask your questions as we continue this mini-series called Answers for a Friend. So thank you guys for joining us. We look forward to connecting with you next week. God bless. Have a great week.